Welcome to the Best Sports Betting Podcast, where we'll talk about reviews, previews, tips and all things betting related. Brought to you by bestsportsbetting.co.za. Now, on to our hosts.
How's it, punters? Welcome back to the Best Sports Betting Podcast, episode 10 for the season. Approaching the end of the year. I think this might be the last or the second last one that we have for 2020, but we are going to be recording a couple of other sort of mini reviews that we'll be posting up about other things too. With me as always is Simon. Simon, did you have a profitable weekend with the football?
I did actually. First time in a little while.
So did I.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I ended up on the right side of the Manchester derby with the Man City double chance, and yeah, I mean it was actually United that had slightly more chances in the 0-0 draw at the Etihad, and thankfully I also had a small bet on the draw at 4.25, so it was actually a very profitable match for me overall, albeit not being the most eventful.
Yeah, it was a close game. I chatted to a few United fans. They felt that they should have won, obviously, but I did call it. I didn't think there were going to be too many goals in the game, so I think 0-0 was 1-1 was what I expected. The draw was a good call. I had my best bet on Leicester, which came in quite comfortably. I'm glad I went with them in the end, won 3-0, because some of my other ones that I was looking at for accumulators and like that really didn't do too well. It was a weekend for the bookies, to be honest, with all those draws.
It was.
And those shock losses.
Yeah, I mean Arsenal followed up their defeat against their Tottenham with the 1-0 loss against Burnley at home.
At home.
I mean, these kind of matches at the Emirates, especially against minnow teams, are the ones we kind of used to seeing the Gunners dominate over the years. Yeah. But it wasn't to be against Sean Dyche's side. I mean, obviously a red card didn't help them for Xhaka, and that was quite early on in the second half. And then an own goal by Aubameyang. I nearly got that right. That was about the 70th minute. But not great now for the Gunners, because that's actually 4 straight home losses, which is really not a good streak to be on.
Not at all. And I follow quite a few Arsenal pages because I just bet on Arsenal quite a bit. I'm not an Arsenal fan, but I do like to bet on them because I think they're one of those teams that do have some value. But that value seems to be slipping away, and I've been seeing these guys in these pages and these groups just celebrating all these wins that they have in the Europa League. And 6 wins in a row, but hey, forget about the 3 or 2 Premier League losses that we had, which is actually more important. So a bit of a reality check for Arsenal, quite far down on the table. And
15th, so they got a long way to go up.
And then Chelsea Everton.
Yeah, that was a bit of a surprise. I mean, I suppose early on in the season, everyone was, Everton started really, really strongly, so perhaps wouldn't have been as much of a surprise then, but. It still was a shock loss nonetheless, and also Spurs couldn't overcome Crystal Palace away from home. It was definitely a weekend for the bookmakers. I would say.
With Liverpool drawing against Fulham, there's a big one for you there. So basically Sunday, I think the bookmakers just got slaughtered. Arsenal lost, Liverpool drew, Spurs drew. The day before we had United drawing as well, which is not great for them. We had Everton beating Chelsea. It's so definitely a weekend for the bookmakers. But we've got lots of Premier League coming up, and we will discuss that in a bit. But first, Simon wants to do a bit of a recap for the F1, which I avoided like the plague. I don't even know who won the F1, Simon. So I'm going completely blind into this one.
Yeah, well, F1's been more of a recent interest of mine. I've kind of just been one of those really backseat spectators, but this season I've watched it. I've followed it a little bit more closely than I have in previous years. But yeah, the Formula One season wrapped up this weekend in Abu Dhabi. It was the Red Bull driver Max Verstappen who ended up in pole position. But yeah, I'm glad that he finished the season with the second win of the year, because I think he works harder than any other driver, to be honest. It's obviously wasn't the perfect finish for Lewis Hamilton, who is the championship driver yet again, but he did still get a podium for the 151st time, which is it's like 40 more than the second place driver overall in overall standings, which I think is Schumacher. So quite something.
Yeah,
But,
which is what has taken me away from F1. I think
Yeah, well, I mean, he was out with COVID last week, and he said he wasn't feeling 100%. So, I mean, whether that's true or not, I mean, it makes sense, I guess. But it's going to be interesting going out. If you don't mind, I'm just going to chat a little bit about the upcoming season, because there's quite a few interesting developments as far as team news is concerned. Funny enough, Lewis Hamilton's out of contract, but I mean, it's extremely likely that Mercedes will sign him on again to partner with Valtteri Bottas. There's no confirmed teammate for Max Verstappen at Red Bull either. Alex Albon hasn't done enough to keep his place there, and there's rumors circulating that Sergio Perez will replace him from Racing Point. And then Vettel's going to leave Ferrari, which is quite something, and he's going to move to Racing Point, which is going to be rebranded as Aston Martin for 2021. And then Carlos Sainz will replace Vettel at Ferrari, and Daniel Ricciardo is going to take Sainz's place at McLaren alongside Norris. So lots of moving around. And lastly, which is really interesting, Mick Schumacher, who's actually son of Michael Schumacher, is going to race for Haas in 2021.
Yes, and I was just looking at some markets actually, and you can get some odds on podium. Was it podium? Here we go. How many times will Mick Schumacher record points in a race? And you've got over 3.5 and under 3.5, and that's definitely favouring the under 3.5 at 1.65.
Yeah. So that would be top 10 in a race, which is sounds easy enough, but when you've got such dominant teams, or especially one team being Mercedes and Red Bull also kind of just sort of separating itself from the pack, getting a top 10 is
it's more like a 6 to 10 almost, or as in you need to finish in. You've got four spots that you can. 4 or 6 spots you can actually finish in.
Exactly.
Because those other ones are pretty much taken. Yeah. You need to hope for a couple crashes or something like that in a race, maybe, and that one would come in.
That's it. Absolutely. And for some weird reason, apparently, according to fans' request, they're going to be making the engines louder next season, which I find a bit louder. Yeah, which I find a bit absurd. But I guess when it comes to Formula One, the fans get what they are.
Why not some fanfare? I mean. It's keeping the business afloat, I guess.
There we go.
I still have no idea how Formula One keeps going, but anyway, you wanted to also chat about some of the upcoming crickets. Was it the ODI series or was it the Test series?
So this is the Test series. So India and Australia have just been they've played 3 T20s and 3 1 ODIs, and India won the 3-match T20 series 2 games to 1, and just before that Australia won the 3-match ODI series 2-1. So they kind of shared the last 2 trophies, and now there's a 4-test series starting in Adelaide. And the Aussies are 7-10 favourites to take a 1-0 lead in that first game. It's actually, I was quite surprised. I was looking a bit into this. Australia has an incredible record against India on home soil. They've won all 7 day-night tests played on. Yeah,
all 7.
I believe that. All 7.
I'm seeing 1.75 for the first test.
That's right. Yeah, and I mean, despite Australia's dominance, over India, I expect the 4-match series will go quite close. I don't have necessarily any lean for the first test, but in terms of the series, if I was going to bet on this, I think the play here is to hope Australia win the first one and then back India at like a huge price, because I think that if they get a little bit of if Australia start off winning the first test, you're probably going to get and have obviously a small stake. Take a bet on India to either win or draw, because I think you're going to get a massive price if Australia start on the right foot.
Okay, so you think it's best to back them once they've picked up, or back India once Australia's, or back India for a result once Australia's picked up a win or two, basically.
I don't see any value in Australia at the prices, but I would rather back India at a bigger price if possible. So that's the way I would approach this, but I don't really have any lean for the first test match.
Yeah, I've moved over to much more in play for test cricket. Overs and over sections, like the first six overs, the first 10 overs, 15 overs, overs run scored. I prefer that to the pre-match betting of waiting 5 days for a result, which is And I get a
Feels like
lot
a
more
real investment.
Yeah, I get a lot more entertainment fall of next wicket. How's the next guy going out? So
Right.
so that's what I do with my Test cricket betting. Same with ODI, to be honest.
Cricket is undoubtedly one of the best sports to play and play.
Yeah, it's just sad when the bookmakers offer these great markets, but they're a little behind. So you'll have like what will the third ball be in the fifth over, and you can just never get a bet on because they don't actually open it up. Because obviously the feed's a little bit behind the actual game itself, so it does get a bit annoying. But when those bets do come up for betting, then I love jumping in on those. So
yeah, absolutely.
So let's have a look at Premier League. We've lots of Premier League. We've got Premier League tonight. Tomorrow, I think there's some on Thursday. I'm not sure. But then we've got another set of fixtures on the weekend. So we might as well just jump straight into the December craziness of football. And what stands out for you in the first set of fixtures that we have during the week?
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice that round 13 is getting an early start. So tomorrow night we have a table-topping clash, which is Liverpool Spurs, both tied on 25 points. So definitely, so far, one would think the match of the season. Looking at this match, it's the Spurs defense really that I think's been the big difference between these two. Well, not just I think. On paper, they've conceded 8 less goals than Liverpool, which over 12 matches is a lot. That's like 0.75 goals per game less. It's a lot of goals. The bookies have priced this one up. Liverpool is 3-4 favourites at Anfield, and that has a lot to do with their head-to-head record against Spurs, which is really good. The Merseyside team are also on a 5-match winning streak in all competitions against Spurs, so that's definitely going to affect the price. But I don't know. I think Liverpool missing Van Dijk, missing their vice James Milner. I think 1.75 is it's as much as I don't want to oppose Liverpool. It is. City. As I discussed before in previous podcasts, I think Spurs look like their closest rivals right now. I think it worked out for me last week in the derby, and I quite fancy the draw here again. It's a slightly shorter price, 29-10, so it's 3.9. Or 2.9 in South African odds. But I can't see enough value in either side here. But maybe goals. Kane and Son have been a lethal partnership. I wouldn't bet against either of them scoring. Kane, you can get odds of 2.65 to find the net. Son, 3.14 at Betway. So, yeah, it's I certainly won't be backing Liverpool at these prices. I quite like the draw, but it's a tricky one for me.
Yeah, I fancy both teams to score in the match to be a draw or 1-1 correct score there. I'm not going to make a call on Spurs or Liverpool. Spurs double chance away kind of looks all right, even money, but for that they're going to need to get score a goal, I feel. So
yes.
That's why I feel the score draw or 1-1. I think.
Yeah, it's quite interesting you say that because I kind of feel the same way. I feel like it'll be far more likely that both teams will score here, but I could also see a very low scoring affair. That's why that 1-1 I think is actually I had the same thing in mind when I was looking at this match. I think it's almost got 1-0 draw written all over it, this match.
Yeah, so you're getting 7.75 on that 1-1. So not too bad at all.
Yeah, you could even perhaps even split your stake. 50-50, half on just the plain draw in case there are lots of goals, even no goals, like a 0-0 or a 2-all, and then have the rest of the stake on a correct score 1-all.
Yeah,
that might be quite an interesting way to do it.
I'm just seeing if there's any value in the unders, but I'm not seeing. Let's look for goals, number of goals. Here we go. So, under 2.5 maybe. I'm not exactly sure what those odds are. I'm kind of struggling to, here we go, find them. So under 2.5 is actually 2.25.
Yeah, that's quite a big price.
Not bad. Tempted. But yeah, I'm not gonna dwell too much. I need to put in a bit more homework. But I do like that draw that we've got there, and I also like the score draw, both teams to score maybe. So that's the big match for the week fixtures. We've also got Leeds Newcastle. Possible win for Newcastle on the road there. 4.6, big price.
Yeah, it is a big price. I thought the same when I looked at that.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at that, and then I was looking at Southampton as well, and I quite fancied unders in the Southampton match too. But there's not really too much during the week that really tickles my fancy. I'm just going to be watching the Liverpool Spurs game. That's definitely going to be the highlight. None of the other matches really appeal to me that much. Then on Thursday, we have Aston Villa and Burnley. We've got United taking on Sheffield. No real value on United at 1.48. Do you think United's performance against City would make you bet on them against Sheffield at less than 5 to 10?
I don't. I really don't. I think for me, I don't necessarily think they're incredibly short, but I couldn't back them at that price. I think that it's one of those matches where it's either get with the underdog or leave it alone kind of thing. I think that's a leave alone game for me.
Yeah, Sam. And then moving on to the weekend, we've got a couple of decent fixtures. There's Everton Arsenal, which I fancy Everton to pick up a result in. We've got Tottenham Leicester City, which should be an interesting one. I do fancy Spurs to actually beat Leicester there. I think Leicester's time, as you said, I think it was the last podcast, is kind of coming to a close. And Spurs at home, even money, seems reasonable for me to take Spurs win there. United versus Leeds, I'm not interested in that price. So, yeah, my best bet for the weekend is going to be on Spurs to beat Leicester, depending on the results between them and Liverpool. I mean, if they pick up a really big win against Liverpool, I will back them. If they pick up any result against Liverpool, I'll back them there. If they lose against Liverpool, then I might reconsider that one, depending on how, depending on what the loss is like, if they dominated the game, etc., etc. So. Yeah, so I keep my powder dry mostly, even though we've got so much going on.
Yeah, I think I think that you're right. It's gonna depend a lot on what happens in that Liverpool Spurs match. And as I said, obviously a draw is always a slight long shot. But I like that. I think close to 3-1 there on the draw is a nice price. And a little bit of a long shot on a 1-1 correct score I like too. So I don't want to bet against Liverpool here, but I think a draw looks a very likely result.
Yeah, it does, and it's just the method of the draw which I think I need to find the best value in, and so far it's that 1-1 that I can find. It's also nice to back correct score in play, but I think your value drops down significantly there too. I actually haven't been playing too much in play soccer betting recently. It's been more.
Yeah, the margin is always a little bit. Yeah, the margin is always a little bit bigger on the bookmaker side when in play. So obviously the advantage that you have as a bettor, seeing what's happening on the field, is kind of slightly compensated on the bookmaker side by taking slightly bigger margins. So you're always going to get slightly less value, but the value of seeing what's happening on the field can obviously overcome that. So it's really just depends on how you're feeling and what you feel more comfortable with.
Right, thanks, Simon. So that wraps it up, guys. Simon, your best bet for the week, is that going to be with the Liverpool game?
I think so. I mean, obviously, whenever you're betting on a draw, you kind of it's always often a slightly bigger price. But I like that, and I think I'll take a small stake on the correct score 1-1 there as well. So yeah, draw between Liverpool and Spurs, and another small stake on the 1-1 draw.
Okay, my best bet's going to be Newcastle double chance against Leeds. It's taking place tomorrow night. You're going to get a shade over even money on Newcastle to draw. If you want a bit more value, go for the draw no bet. You'll get 3.25. But I feel this one's probably going to end in a draw, and I give Newcastle a slight edge. So that's why I'd rather take the double chance. It's over even, so it seems reasonable enough. And then the other one, which I'm going to make a tentative best bet, is is going to be the one that I spoke about earlier, and I think there's going to be some value there too. So yeah, guys, thanks for tuning into the podcast. If you guys want to find out more about what we've got, go head over to bestsportsbetting.co.za. Simon, thanks for joining me as always. Let's hope that Spurs and Newcastle can do the business for me this week, and that you can get your team sitting in as well.
Thanks, Rob. We'll chat again next week.
Yeah, we'll catch you in the next one, guys. Have a good one. Cheers.
Thank you for listening, and don't forget to visit our site, Facebook and Twitter pages. Let's go make some money.